Hi, this is Nate Smith with ABI Attachments. Today we're going to be showing you how to put the Snowplow option on your Z-23 ABI Force. We've built this system around a Boss Poly ATV plow. So go to your local Boss dealer and purchase whatever plow you would like between 4 foot, 5 foot. Today I'm showing a 4 foot with 6-inch wings on it. I'm going to show you just sort of a generic, the parts that we're going to put together here. We're going to take some framework and attach it with the trip system. For your convenience, in our kit, we've provided the bolts that make this connection, but please refer to the Boss manual or any of the Boss documentation if you have any questions about the trip system and the blade system itself. When we bolt in, coming to this second hole down for your top bolt is the best adjustment for us. Just verify that the frame pivots on the trip before adjusting your trip springs like you would like. So let's go ahead and put the nuts on our 5/8 by 3.5 bolts that we've secured our push frame to our blade crate with. And we're going to go ahead and tighten that up with a 15/16. Okay, so now we're going to mount our push frame that attaches the ABI Force to the blade assembly. So this slides in between that bracket, and then there's one single bolt. It's the 5/8 by 4 that will slide through, and the blade should pivot freely side to side. Install the 5/8 nut on that bolt, and we're going to take the 2 1/2-inch bolts that came in our kit, and we're going to choose the smaller cylinder. The small end of the smaller cylinder is going to pin in here with the shorter of the 2 1/2-inch bolts. And then I'm going to pivot this into the frame, and you can see a hole down here that goes through from the top side, and so you'll simply pin the top side of that cylinder with that bolt and install the 1/2-inch nuts that come with those. Then we're going to take our 3/4-inch wrench and tighten up these 2 nuts. We're going to go ahead and tighten up our 5/8 bolt with a 15/16-inch wrench. Again, this has to pivot, so we don't want to get it too tight, just snug so it can't walk out and that the threads are engaged in the nylock. Okay, now we're going to mount the lift plate that goes on the front of the quick connect system on the front of your Z-23 ABI Force. All we're going to need to do is pull the pins that are on the axle and spin the quick connect nuts and simply place the plate on the pins where the wing nuts go. Crank them down tight. You can use the cheater bar that is supplied with every ABI Force to tighten those tighter should you need. And at the front now, we're going to drop these spacers for providing down pressure on the plow. So these nylon spacers get stuck in there, and then the pins are inserted. Okay, now we're going to move to the front of the undercarriage of your ABI Force, and what we need to do is remove this bar by unlocking. That is done simply by first remove your lock collars if they happen to be stored here. Just watch out not to pinch your fingers. This particular unit is actually configured for shipping with the rakes flipped back. For plowing snow, it works best to remove those end rake sections, but flipped back works as well. We're going to go ahead and slide a wooden block underneath the underbelly, and we're going to lower it down. There, by taking the tension off now, I can flip these up and out of the way, the latches, in order to allow the underbelly to disconnect at the front. So just be sure to put the linchpin back so you can find it. Once you flip your latches, then you lift up on the bar and it'll just come loose off the hooks. We need to loosen our set collar here, the outside one and the inside one, with a 5/32 Allen wrench. Then we need to come over to the other side and loosen just the outside set collar. And now we're going to remove the linchpin from the end of the rod and the washer. Set those to the side And then we're going to slide the rod until the connecting arm falls off. Then we'll slide both of those set collars off, and we're going to install our plow coupling tube onto the rod. Once you slide the mounting tube back on the rod, we're going to reinstall the set collars and slide our rod back through our arm and reinstall our linchpin and washer. So now we're going to reinstall the two set collars. We're going to push the outside one and take all the slack out at the end of the rod and tighten it. We're going to leave this inside one loose, and we're going to tighten the one on the other side back to where it was. Again, pushed all the way to the outside to take the slack out. Then, with our insides loose, we lift up and rehook. And by sliding this collar out to the outside, we'll take out any slack. And again, tighten. Now this tube that we've installed for hooking the snowplow does not have to come off. It can just stay there when you're using your ABI Force for grooming or grading or anything else. The last step in our underbelly prep is to remove, with the same 5/32 Allen wrench, the small set collar and add a second hook to be able to hook to grab the underbelly rod. So we'll simply install both of those, reinstall the linchpin, and then reinstall the set collar on the end. Be sure to tighten it so you don't lose the hooks. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to be connecting your plow assembly to the force itself. You can just grab onto the push frame and it will slide right under the middle of your force. So now we're going to just pick up our push frame and slide it over that tube we installed. Then we put the bent pins supplied in linch pins, and you've attached the plow. Next, we'll take our lift cylinder, that's the larger cylinder assembly. I'm going to pass the hoses and fittings up through the frame. We'll just lay those down for now. Now, the top rod end of the cylinder is going to be held by a 5/8 by 4-inch bolt with washers on either side of it. So we're going to pass the bolt through in the slot on the pickup. The slot is going to allow the top of the cylinder to float while plowing snow. This allows you to choose to either scrape or to let it float if you're on more delicate surfaces. So we put washers on either side, and then our 5/8 nut. Once we have this assembled with our washers inside and outside, we want to tighten these bolts such that the cylinder can slide up and down, but doesn't have much side-to-side play in it. Our 5/8 by 3.5 is going to be installed down here, installing the cylinder into the plow frame. The easiest way to connect the two is that we're going to plumb the cylinder in so that we can extend it out to lift the plow. So our last step before we go to plumbing is to just simply tuck these hoses from our pitch cylinder underneath this gap in the frame and fish them up and around. At this point, we're ready to start prepping the plumbing on your ABI Force for your snowplow. Typically what we've done is made the third valve, the furthest to the operator's right, lift, and the center valve to be the pitch. If your unit has the laser prep package, then the valve will look like this. It will have these tall, wide structures on the top, and all the fittings will come out of the front. If your valve looks like this, then you have a non-laser unit with the ports coming out of the side and the ports coming out of the front, and everything being small with no quick disconnects. And it will be plumbed differently. Please fast forward in the video to where we talk about plumbing non-laser units. So to begin with, on our laser valve, we're going to disconnect our quick connects just to get those fittings out of our way. We'll let those lay down there for now. So we're going to temporarily mark our top hose so that as we're doing some plumbing, we keep our directions of our valves going the right way. So I chose yellow electrical tape. Choose the marking of your choice. just to denote which hose is the top one. Next, we are going to take a piece of cardboard and some paper towel and slide underneath the valve. Even though we're going to do everything we can to depressurize the system, there's always a little bit of oil in the fittings that's going to want to try to drip down on the exhaust below, and so it's best to set up an absorptive barrier to catch that oil. Our last part of prep is to wiggle all of our hydraulic levers with the unit not running. We're just trying to release any pressure we might find. And this is with the weldment underneath blocked, so I'm supporting everything off the ground to make sure I don't have any latent pressure in any of these hoses or fittings. In with the fittings that you received will be quick connects and an elbow. We're gonna take the female quick connect and install the O-ring elbow to it. So we'll tighten until the O-ring engages and then tighten the jam nut against it. Let's go ahead and bench build this ahead of attaching it to the hose. It'll just be easier to hold. Once we pre-assemble our O-ring fitting to our female connector, with our 1 1/16" wrench holding it, we're going to tighten it down with a 7/8" wrench. And we're going to go ahead and get this fairly snug. Next, we're going to take our 9/16" wrench and take that top hose that we marked and go ahead and loosen it. There might be some oil come out of this hose, so we're going to want to hold it up high as it gets loose. Also, you might see some residue of some thread locker used at the factory. That's perfectly safe. You don't need to worry about that contaminating the oil. It's an oil-safe material. We're simply going to then attach that quick connect fitting that we put on to prevent any leakage. Now we're going to take our wrench, hold it tight, and make sure we tightly seat that JIC fitting. We're also going to want to clock it such that it's going to line up nicely with our valve. And we'll tighten it with a 9/16" wrench. In your kit are two fittings that look very similar. The key is on the back side. One has a tiny pinhole. That's a restrictor fitting. One has a wide opening. For the laser models, we have to use the ones with a wide opening. So we're going to take the straight fitting with a wide opening and attach it to our male quick connect that was provided with your kit. We want to make sure that O-ring doesn't get pinched, but we thread things down good and solid until they're seated. I've hand tightened this one. Then we'll use an 1 1/16" wrench and a 7/8" wrench to hold this and tighten those. And then I'm going to just simply snug that up. Now we're going to take our 9/16" wrench and loosen our bottom hose. And again, you may see some oil drip out. That's why we put our catch below. And we'll simply take and attach the straight connector with our 9/16" wrench and our 7/8" wrench and tighten that one down. And again, that's going to end up here for clocking purposes. Next, we are going to take the adapters that came in your kit that have two different sizes on them. This is a 1/2 inch, this is a 5/8 inch, and we're going to pre-install both male and female on the 1/2 inch side. We'll take a 7/8" wrench with an 1 1/16", and we are going to seat that O-ring and tighten. Now with both of our quick connects, with their adapters attached to them, we're now going to remove the two fittings here on the valve and swap them out with quick connects, so it'll look a lot like this right here. So I need my 1 inch wrench. I'll take the top fitting off first because it'll be easier to access. Again, if you have some oil drip, that's okay. The access here might be a challenge, but once you break it loose, you should be able to spin it by hand. And set those fittings to the side. And the female goes on the bottom, just like the one next to it. And then here's the challenge of flipping the wrench around and getting enough spin to get some torque. And then the female is going to go on top here. For access, if it works better, you can use the 1 1/16" wrench on the fitting, since it's going to just tighten everything. So at this point in the process, it's probably best to do a quick leak check. Make sure you clean up any oil, nothing's dripped down on the muffler, and with the quick connects all disconnected, you can go ahead and start the unit and just observe everything that we've done right here, make sure nothing leaks. And it looks good. When not plowing snow, simply attach the quick connects to the fittings as seen to restore pitch controls, and then you would plug these in and then you would have your rear lift. For the snowplow, we're going to leave these hydraulics disconnected sometimes. We provided caps for you to put over these quick connect fittings. So simply slide that over and push on. And then the female version is just a larger version that slides on there. When plowing snow, these hoses will simply be able to lay here because this portion of the unit is not moving when plowing. Okay, we're going to now connect our lift cylinder hoses. We're going to lay those out here and connect through the quick connects to the far right. That's going to put our lift and lower on the far right, and make sure they're routed in a nice fashion here where they're laying down. And now we're going to take the hoses for the pitch and extend them to connect to our center hydraulic. Our next step to finish connecting our plow is to start our unit and extend our lift cylinder to make that connection. With that extended, I can remove my 5/8 by 3.5. I may have to adjust my length slightly, and I can install. Then I can just verify. I now can lift my plow. So we'll tighten this bolt with our 15/16. Again, just into the nylock so it can't come out, and we're almost ready to plow some snow. So to begin with, we are going to plumb some quick connect fittings into these fixed hose positions. So what we need to do is remove these two hoses and replace with quick disconnects. I like to mark my top hoses so that I don't mix match which hose goes where to keep all my handles going the same direction. I'm going to use a piece of yellow electrical tape. Come back to the rear and disconnect the rear lift to take pressure off the hydraulic circuit. Then we're going to take our 9/16 wrench and loosen. Some oil will drip out. It's very important we wiggle these handles to release any pressure and set up some sort of cardboard or something to catch so we don't get too much on our exhaust system or other parts that might get hot. We're going to take our center section hoses loose as well. Again, we've supported the underbelly with a block to take any residual pressure off that we can to limit the amount of oil that we leak. Our next step is going to be to remove these fittings out of the valve. Now take note, these are the restrictor type fittings that have a very small orifice in them in order to control the speed of the hydraulic cylinder on the plow. We'll be reusing these, so save them. We're going to take the quick connects that came in our kit and we're going to install these fittings onto the quick connects, both the female and male quick connects. And again, we'll retighten those with a 7/8" wrench. We can hold the body of the fitting with an 1 1/16" wrench, so we'll get those nice and tight. We'll go on our yellow marked our top hoses. And then we'll be able to take our 9/16 and our 1 1/16 and tighten those two together. I do this one first, the hoses first, so that I don't continue to leak oil. And again, the male will get the same fitting, the restrictor fitting. It's very important that we don't inadvertently loosen a fitting. So that's why we always have to support with 2 wrenches when we're tightening hydraulic fittings. Okay, so again, my top fitting gets my female on my hose. And my bottom fitting gets my male on my hose. So for the next step, we'll be taking these adapters that are the same on both ends and installing them into our valve block. Again, there's 2 adapters in your kit and you want the one that's the same on both ends. And you're going to take the O-ring without pinching it, up flush, And then you'll take the 7/8 wrench and go ahead and seat that O-ring down. It's important when working with hydraulics to always have a neat, clean work area. We don't want to have any contaminants get into the hydraulic oil, the hydraulic system. So please make sure you have clean area to work in, that you've cleaned, power washed the unit off, the area around all the fittings, so that we're not getting any contaminants into the system. Now we're ready to install our quick connects here. So we're going to simply screw on the female on bottom and tighten it up with our 1 1/16 wrench. The same thing over here on the bottom. Make sure we seat that O-ring, install our males on top. To keep the speed controllable on non-laser units, we've provided these restrictor fittings again that have the tiny orifice in them. By taking a 1 1/16 wrench and a 9/16 wrench, we're going to remove the fittings and the hoses. And once that's hand loose, then I can unscrew here. And then with a 7/8 wrench, I'm going to be able to loosen the fitting. I'll also need my 1 1/16. And once I break that loose, I'll remove the existing fittings that come from the factory. These are full-size fittings instead of restrictor fittings. So then we're going to install the restrictor fitting back on and then reinstall this back onto the hose. Just do one at a time so we can keep all the hoses and fittings in their correct orientation, so we keep our ups and downs and lefts and rights being consistent. Again, always use a back hold wrench when tightening hydraulic fittings. Okay, one of the last steps is on all of our hoses that we've attached fittings to, quick connects, we're going to install the caps. So when they're not used, like when we're snow plowing, we're going to cap them. Now that we've replaced all of our regular fittings with restrictor orifice fittings, we can install these into the quick connect blocks. So they simply press in. We've intended it so that you could put your lift on your far right. So just pay attention to which cylinder is your lift cylinder. And again, just push straight in. Finally, to finish connecting our plow, we need to extend our cylinder, which we're going to do by starting our unit and running it. And then we're going to pin connect with our 5/8 by 3.5 bolt here into the frame. And then we're going to tighten this up with a 15/16. Again, just into the nylock. We need to top our oil back off. Again, paying attention to your mark that you're going to be in the center, cold, between your max and min lines. As we bleed out these cylinders and stuff, you'll have to monitor your oil level and possibly add more. And we use 5W40 full synthetic in the hydraulic system. I will lift and lower, and if I keep going, I'll raise it up off the ground. Left and right. Okay, to disconnect the snowplow from your ABI Force, first start by disconnecting your hydraulic connectors. You roll these collars till they match up with the detent and push the collar back to disconnect. Go ahead and cap these off, because if you're going to be stashing it, you don't want any contaminants to get into your hydraulic system. We just simply fold these down. Next, we'll take the wing nuts loose on your quick connect system. We'll just take those loose and set those to the side. We're going to pull the pins and save the spacers and lift this entire front section. We'll replace the spacers and the pins back on the front axle. And the last thing we have to do is pull the bent pins here and on this side, out. Now you can just back the machine up, or if you're on a smooth surface, and your whole plow is free. Replace these bent pins so you don't lose them with their clips, and store your plow. Please replace the quick connect wing nuts back on. And reinstall your rear lift cylinder, your pitch cylinder, and you're ready to go groom a baseball field. So this completes the connection of your snowplow to your ABI Force. With this setup, you're ready to plow snow. Now we have light kits and salt spreader and tire options as well to facilitate your productivity on sidewalks and small spaces. Feel free to reach out to our customer service if you have any questions about this or any of our other attachments. Thank you.